Hey anglers, it's Al, the Hitman Sims with the Connecticut Fishing Recon Report. The freshest reports online. Brought to you by blackopsfishing.com. Real undercover fishing. And the first Recon report comes to us from Hilliard's Tackle Shop in Waterford. Striper fishing is generally good right now at all the usual places. The Race Rock, the Sluiceway, and Plum Gut have all been producing good fish, as well as the smaller inshore reefs like Hatchets, Hens and Chickens, and Bartlett's has been really good in the past few days, with live bait after dark, be it eels or bunker. And yesterday morning, this shop weighed in another cow striper, 47.25 pounds, that was caught during the previous night. Porgie fishing is as good as it gets right now. They're at their peak and they are big. You can find them literally everywhere. The Spindles at Bartlett's has been one of the hottest spots going. The My Joy had a banner day there on 10/10. Now's the time to stock up on those Porgie fillets for the winter. Blackfish, all the wind kept some guys out of the water for the season opener on 10/10. But the guys who did go out reported fair catches, a lot of smaller fish with some decent sized fish mixed in. That should all change this weekend with the milder winds. Bluefish. Blue fishing is rated as good right now, although some days are better than others. The Race and all the usual spots are still good, as well as the local inshore reefs. And don't forget, this is the best time of year to land a chopper off the shore like Hammonasset Beach or Harkness State Beach Park. Sea bass, lots of shorts locally. If you want some decent fish, you have to head to the block for that. Last but not least, fluke. Season ends October 31st, and the diehards who are still trying are getting their fish. We've had a few limits come into the shop in the last few days. And the next Recon report comes to us from the Fish Connection in Preston. Striper fishing is good all along the shoreline, the Watch Hill Reefs and the Race. But locally there's bunker in the Thames River and striper all the way up to the Norwich Harbor. Schoolies, but there's a few bigger fish mixed in. Occasionally bluefish are under the bunker schools in the Thames River as well, especially in the Fort Trumbull area towards the mouth. The big news at the shop is Porgies and Blackfish. Porgies, they're everywhere at all the local reefs for the boaters, but some good shore points would be Avery Point, Fort Trumbull, or the Mystic River. Blackfish, it just opened on the 10th, but we've had some good reports in the shop already. Jack says some of the better places to try would be the Stonington Breakwall, all the way over towards Latimer Reef, Horseshoe Reef and Seaflower, and around the power plant in Niantic. Also in the mouth of the Thames River you can find blackfish on the piers on either side, the New London side or the Groton side, and around Fort Trumbull. Fish around the piers as blackfish eat the barnacles this time of year. And the next Recon report comes to us from Connecticut Outfitters in Weathersfield. Largemouth bass, fair to good. Big Matt fished Chapman's Pond and had a ton of explosive hits on his frog, but no real takers. He did end up with a decent smallmouth bass for his efforts. Remember, seeing the frog getting smashed is very exciting. Don't put away your topwater lures yet. The bass should really turn on right about now before winter sets in. Candle was good in the last week with some bigger LMBs in the mix. Some 4 to 6 pounders came in. A 5.9 bigmouth was caught by two young men fishing at Day Pond with shiners under a float. The lakes we had feedback from this week with decent catches were Bantam, Silver, Babcock Pond, Pickle Lake, Hall's Pond, Lake of Isles, Alexander Lake, Bishop Swamp, and Savin Pond. Smallmouth bass fishing fair to good at Candlewood, Schnipsit, and Gardner Lake, where Frank R. and Doug from Salem banged 14 smallmouths during the big wind on 10/8 in just over an hour. Catfish, very good at Mohican Park Pond, according to Justin, who fishes there 3 or 4 times a week using night crawlers that he soaks overnight in a bowl of milk. His biggest channel cat was guessed to be 5 pounds. On a good day, he says he lands 4 to 8 catfish. Pike fishing is really good at Lake Willanoa. Patchogue and Bantam were good, and Westchester was reported as a little slow. No reports from Mansfield Hollow at all. Pike fishing will get better in the next few weeks, but is good to very good right now. Trout and salmon. Justin from Norwich has now caught 3 salmon in the Shetucket River. He says the water flow has to be just right. Remember, the flow in the Shetucket is regulated and goes up or down rapidly without warning. The rivers and streams are flowing at their usual October levels, and some are full of freshly stocked trout, making fall trout fishing a good bet right now. We had some good feedback from a father and son team that had a ball fishing trout and smallmouth bass on the Housatonic River. Black crappie, a nice bucket of calicos, was caught right from the landing area at Lake of Isles. The best fishing for black crappies right now is in the back of Weathersfield Cove, just down the road from our shop. If you haven't sampled the fall crappie action in the cove, stop in the shop for all the info and bait you need. Connecticut River pike fishing, very good in the lower stretches around Haddam, Chapman's Pond, Salmon Cove, and at the junction of the Salmon and Connecticut rivers. Largemouth bass fishing in the river was rated good up and down the river in the last week. 2 anglers banged their limits jigging around the pilings at the Haddam Bridge. There were smaller fish, but the action was good on the outgoing tide. Smallmouth bass, good to very good in the stretches above Hartford, and some decent fish caught as far down as Chapman's Pond. Kitech jigs are still killing it. Stop in the shop and see our selection of colors and sizes. Carp. Carp will feed heavy this time of year, but we haven't had anything to report in the last week. Guys are going, so I assume they are catching. Stop in the store to see our European carp fishing supplies and expert carp fishing advice. Catfishing in the river is excellent, up and down the river. Cut bait has been scoring some big fish in the Rocky Hill area in the last few days. This has been Al the Hitman Sims with the Connecticut Fishing Recon Report, brought to you by BlackOpsFishing.com. Until next week, keep off my bass.